Hey everyone, my name is Leo, and I'm really glad you're here today because we are going to be talking about something that a lot of us struggle with, which is pursuing our dreams when it feels like nothing is working out. Maybe you are in a season where you're thinking about giving up, wondering if God is even listening. But today I want to encourage you, don't give up just yet. God often uses seasons of waiting and challenge to sort of like prepare us for something greater. So before you give up, I want to share three things that help me stay focused when I feel like nothing is happening. Let's dive into those and hopefully they will help you too. The first thing I do is remember my why. What's the deeper purpose behind my dream? Sometimes when things are tough, it's easy to forget why we started in the first place. One example we can look at is Joseph from the Bible. God gave Joseph a dream that one day he would be a great leader and his brothers would bow to him, as said in Genesis chapter 37. But before that dream was fulfilled, Joseph went through some incredibly tough times. He was sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused, and thrown into the prison. From the outside, it looked like nothing was working out for him. But through it all, Joseph stayed focused on his dream that God gave to him. He trusted that even in the darkest moment, God was still working. You see, Joseph could have given up many times, but he held on to his why. The why behind his dream. And eventually, after years of waiting and struggle, Joseph's dream came true when he was made second in command in Egypt, and he saved many lives during a famine. Like Joseph, we need to remember why we started, even if things ain't going well right now. Don't lose sight of the vision. God gave you that dream for a reason, and his timing is perfect. The second thing I do is to trust the process. And I know this can be hard. Waiting is tough. We want to see the result now, but God often works in ways we don't understand. His timing is different from ours, and sometimes he uses the waiting to sort of like shape us. A great example of this is David. David was anointed by the prophet Samuel to be sort of like the future king of Israel. I said in 1 Samuel chapter 16, I think. But even after he was chosen, David didn't become the king right away. In fact, it took many years before David actually sat on the throne. During that time, David faced numerous challenges. He was chased by the King Saul, had to live in hiding, and went through many battles. But what David did in those years of waiting is that he trusted the process. He didn't rush ahead of God's plan, even when he had the opportunity to take matters into his own hands. David waited for the perfect timing, and because of that, he became one of the greatest kings in Israel's history. Sometimes, like David, we need to trust our season of waiting, right? Because our season of waiting is not wasted. God could be using this time to sort of like prepare you for something even bigger than you can imagine. Waiting is hard, I know, but growth happens in the season of waiting. So the third thing I sort of like do is to surround myself with the right people. The journey of chasing your dream can be lonely, especially when you feel like you're not making progress. But we are not meant to walk alone. God created us for community. Take Moses, for example. When Moses was leading the Israelites through the wilderness, there were many times when the burden was too heavy for him to carry alone. In Exodus chapter 18, his father-in-law, Jethro, came to him and said, "What you are doing is not good. You will wear yourself out. You cannot sort of like do this alone." Jethro encouraged Moses to appoint a leader to help him carry all of his load. Another great example is when Aaron and Hur, I think it's pronounced or spelled Hur, held up Moses' arms during a battle as expressed in Exodus 17. As long as Moses' arms were lifted, the Israelites kept winning, right? But when his arms got tired, he sort of like needed others to sort of like support him to raise his arms up. This shows us that even someone like Moses, who had a close relationship with God, needed help from others to fulfill his mission. In the same way, we need people around us who can support us, encourage us, and lift us up when we are feeling tired or discouraged. Maybe God has placed certain people in your life to help you during this season. Don't be afraid to sort of like reach out to them for help and lean on those who can encourage you to keep going. So, just to recap, when you feel like giving up on your dreams, here is what I do to stay focused. First, I remember my why. Think about Joseph and how he held on to the dream God gave him, even when things looked bleak, right? Secondly, I trust the process, just like David did, who waited for God's perfect timing when it didn't make sense. And finally, I sort of like surround myself with the people who can support me, just like Moses had Aaron and Jethro to help him carry the weight. I want to encourage you today. Don't give up on your dream. It may be tough right now, but God could be using this season to prepare you for something much greater. Keep trusting, keep believing, and remember that God's timing is always perfect. If you have any questions or need more encouragement, feel free to drop a comment below. I would love to hear from you and support you on your journey.